Hello, it's Jack Tutor here of Attention Magazine. Welcome to Crucial Listening, the podcast where I speak with musicians and sound artists about albums that are important to them. My guests this time are Able Noise, a duo of, ostensibly baritone guitar and drums, but there's so much more going on there. The two players involved are Alex Andropoulos and George Konechto, and they were fabulous in conversation. This one is a big one. We go in loads of different directions, and it was just such a pleasure to dig into, everything that this podcast is designed to do, just like prise open these albums and Able Noise's approach to making music and just really get into it. And this kind of sense of inquisition is really evident within their music as well. There's so much inward interrogation as to the nature of their instruments, their dynamic as a duo, how to enact themselves live and within the studio, and what makes sense within those environments. There's a lot of questioning why, and as well as that, there's also just a real fundamental love of melody, and you have these two elements that are in kind of playful feud throughout their music, which is, on one hand, this very intact, gorgeous, melodic sensibility, and then the other, this kind of inquisitive unraveling and deconstruction of their own sound, this playing with time, teasing open the contours of their sound and of song, but not to the extent where it just unravels completely. I love that tension. And like I say, this was just a great discussion, not least because it's the last Crucial Listening I'm going to be doing for a little while. I'm putting the podcast on hold for a little bit just to concentrate on other stuff. So it was really nice to kind of send it off on this one, because it really was a wicked chat. If you've been enjoying the podcast, thank you. I've done this unbroken run of episodes for quite a while now. It's probably been one episode a fortnight for 4 years, 5 years. So it does feel kind of surreal to be stopping for a bit. But thank you so much for your support. You can support it over at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/crucial listening. You can donate monthly or one-off. I know a few folks are donating monthly. Thank you so much. You're welcome to continue to do so, or alternatively direct it towards some other wonderful stuff that is currently going on in your universe. Thank you. Okay, enough ramble from me. More ramble to come, but of the really good sort. This is Able Noise on Crucial Listening. Hello, George. Hello, Alex. Welcome to Crucial Listening.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you both. You're here to talk about 4 important albums. Before we get to those, I'd like to talk about your music. So let's start with the gig you played last night in Amsterdam with Caroline. So how was it?
It was good. It was long. It was really exciting because we supported Caroline, and I was kind of we'd played Amsterdam already 2 weeks before that, and I was kind of thinking nobody was going to show up for us, and was very happily surprised to walk onto the stage and just the whole room being filled up with people.
It was. We get we're it's this kind of strange identity crisis we go through often, which is we often get invited to do support slots. We keep getting invited by bigger names who end up seeing us and really, really liking us to open up their shows, which doesn't always translate to the audiences. It feels... Caroline's quite an interesting example because, yeah, we've been on tour with them. We've done a few concerts with them. I think they're kind of on the spectrum, like the absolute furthest into weird and experimental that an indie scene can go, like an indie fan can go. And then we are 2 steps further than that. Yes. So between us and Caroline, there's like this great kinship and kind of understanding and kind of recognition. Although they listen to really different music, it's quite funny chatting to them because they listen to very, very different music from the stuff that we listen to. But it kind of results in, experimenting with sound and textures and a kind of performative element on stage. When we went on tour with them a few years ago, supporting their first album, their crowd kind of just didn't know what to do with us. And we're really not that weird. This is what I keep kind of arguing. We're really, really not that weird a band. We got someone gave us a bit of heat in a kind of review at some point ages ago about the fact that we call ourselves experimental music, which I kind of agree with. I wouldn't necessarily call us experimental. There is experimentation. By default, you would call that experimentation. But in the world of experimental music, we're very not that experimental. We still really are, music. Then it's just kind of interesting to how to kind of mainstream audiences, we're still just so bizarre for people.
Yeah.
Actually, yesterday was also quite nice because it felt like the crowd was very, very keen and interested in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then
we were wanting to try something new. We've been developing something new to perform, and we decided to open up with that. I mean, we discussed it before of, is this suitable for the Caroline audience, or should we go for something that's maybe a bit more comfortable? And we decided to do it. And I realized while going through it that I just saw people in front of me just kind of haze out. And there,
oh no!
And it's just really, I really like it though. And when you can be at this certain mindset on stage where I can play, but also still really observe and register, but still continue. But I was just in this constant spiral of, why did we decide to do this long ass feedback drama?
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's like, because we're using feedback, we've gotten into feedback. George plays the bouzouki for a track and she feedbacks that. We've got another track using a tape player and George feedbacks through her tape player. And then now we've written something which is me feedbacking the drum kit with a mic. And it's nice because you can get really kind of clear-cut notes and harmonics from the drum. There's a few parameters, volume and of course the tuning, but you can always kind of get the tuning. But yeah, it just kind of results in the audience being subjected to 8 minutes of a drum kit feedbacking, which sounds to me sounds amazing. It sounds so good, so beautiful. But we were talking to Kieran Leonard, who's filling in for their main guitarist Casper. The feedback, it's just such a vulgar sound that especially us musicians have learned to hate, and the instinctive reaction is to clasp your ears to. So trying to write that into music is quite so like to say, playing 8 minutes of feedback and kind of knowing that, oh yeah, we have 12 more lines to sing, and then it's going to switch, and then we've got the whole bass riff to play,
which also has feedback.
We're just kind of bearing through it.
Yeah,
which is a bit weird. It's a bit contradictory to the kind of nature of, let's say, for improv and improvised music, which we don't do. We're not an improv band, but it's a big influence, and we try and keep ourselves able to improvise how we play things or the set list on the night. It's really, really important to kind of keep that free. And of course, like the setup is there's like a lot of improvisation within it, but kind of knowing that there's 4 more minutes that you need to do this kind of really contradicts that spirit. You might, if it was like an improv thing, I think both of us might chicken out.
We would have snapped out of it. I think we would have fumbled our way out of it. But yeah.
But you need to like stay true to the initial intention and just kind of poker face your way through it.
Is there an appeal to that? Like the fact that because also you could have made it so easy for yourselves, I guess. Like there was always going to be, I guess, a bit of trepidation with opening with feedback, and I guess as well there's that volatility where in a given space it's like I'm assuming it kind of behaves differently depending on where you're at. Do you think that you kind of sign yourselves up for that discomfort or that kind of liminal space where this might work, this might not? Is that part of the appeal for you, do you think?
I mean, yeah, we've had it a few times. People have come up and congratulated us by stating that they enjoy the risk element, the kind of danger element of the music, and also because it's the two of us. It is quite sonically, it's quite minimal. It's often kind of thin, so it can really. If I go off rhythm, I'm off rhythm. If George plays the wrong note, she plays the wrong note. It's like there's nothing to hide behind because it's kind of so bare.
Yeah.
Which makes it much more organic feeling. It keeps me excited. Like the improvisational elements within it keeps us on our toes. It's really, really nice because it's gotten to this point of we've always got new material and also older material, and it's quite nice to play some of the older material because it feels like we're almost covering ourselves. It's this thing of we've done it so many times, we can drive it backwards with our eyes closed.
Yeah.
But then you've actually got space to kind of morph it and bend it to kind of just also keep it more exciting for.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's that. It's walking the line between sort of is it going to work, is it not going to work, just allows for so much to happen within that moment.
Yeah.
Like really allows us to, or allows me at least to be like, okay, this thing that usually is like a massive sound can now suddenly become a really small sound, just depending on how it has worked in the space. Or, for example, what you said about feedback working differently in different spaces. There's a piece that we do, which we didn't do yesterday, which is where I use feedback through the microphone of the cassette player that I use, which is completely dependent on the position of the monitor and the us in the space. And then also so we sound check that. I get these specific notes. We kind of EQ the feedback as much as we can. And then during the gig, everything changes always. And we kind of get surprised by it every time. It's like, why didn't it work? Like just, when the space fills up with people, suddenly everything changes. But I always really, really enjoy it because I still, I really like to have that limitation to experiment with. Like, okay, I got these notes instead of these notes. And that kind of only just pushes me. It can only push me into one direction, which I find very comforting.
Yeah.
I just need to hold on to that and explore whatever I've been given at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's strange. Like at some point, we might sound check, and she's kind of manages to get like a major scale in the feedback. And then during the gig, something's changed and it's actually turned like minor.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really whack. So then she has a specific melody she sings, so she kind of needs to adapt how she says. Is she now singing to it, or is she kind of ignoring it as if it's background noise, or if she sings it a bit quicker or slower or quieter?
Oh, gorgeous.
And that's always really fun. That's really, really fun. And that's when like other musicians kind of click that and go, oh, that is quite interesting. That's quite exciting to see, to witness. And also that I think like Caroline, they've seen us 10 times. So they kind of recognize by this point what kind of goes right, what doesn't, primarily from facial expressions that's primarily eye cool. I'm really bad at keeping a straight face. So if we miss something, I'm really, really bad at just like playing it cool.
Yeah, me too. So one thing So when I've seen other interviews with you or read other interviews, it feels like, and this is evident, I think, in just this conversation now and why I was looking forward to this podcast, but it feels like there's a lot of contemplation over your practice, and the word why seems to come up a lot when you're talking about your process. I've seen you talk about how a big part of what you do involves just unplugged guitars and notebooks. So I wanted to ask about that specifically, like how much is conversation and discussion between yourselves a part of the process of what you do?
Hugely. Much more than actual playing.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate. I mean, it's, on the one hand, it stems from just the practicality of, for the longest time, access to space was a bit tricky. So to rehearse and write. For years in The Hague, in the Netherlands, we were sharing an art studio with people. So we'd have to like wheel our drum kit and bass amp in and out of the project space until one of the neighbors just like, I'm completely done listening to you as if you're in my living room. So on a very pragmatic, practical level, a big bit of it was that, of just needing to chat and think and about music much more than the capability to play it. Now it's changed because we have a space. But then the other thing is, which is actually bigger, is, it's art school. We went to art school. And especially, well, George will talk about her side. I mean, I did sculpture. And a big thing was, okay, so why wood? So why this size, and why within this room, and why that color? And do you recognize the connotations of this? And just discussion about it was crucial. And it was nice because it was this thing of kind of discovering that even if it's completely, let's say, art for art's sake and emotion based, you can still talk about the emotions. You can still talk about the emotional element to it. And I think next to that, due to the music that we like, we just started writing quite conceptually, and then by default ended up needing to kind of chat about it a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of moves into everything that we do, that's not just within writing music, but also in the way of performing, that everything has to make sense, everything has to have a reason why it's there, why you are hearing a sound, why, and how for us it's really important that people understand where a sound is coming from, and that they can see that, oh, Alex is moving the microphone down onto the snare, and that is creating this feedback, so that they understand from the beginning, okay, so this is meant to happen, or to at least help guide someone into that. Which I think also is why we fit with Caroline well, because seeing them yesterday, I also really recognized that again in them, of that they are very aware of how they want to perform something, and why they are standing in such a way on the stage, and why is somebody walking across the stage, and yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, for us, which is maybe just that, like, if, as George says, it's really, really, really important that we want kind of no secrets up our sleeves or anything. It's very, which I think comes from kind of the improv scene, the kind of the free jazzy scene of, what can you create on the spot in the moment. I don't know. I think that narratively, like, I just really hate laptops on stage, especially when you're like in neoclassical music and you've got like an ensemble, 5, 6, 7 musicians, and then you've got a laptop playing another 3 instruments. It just doesn't make sense to me, both visually but also performatively. So it's like, so why could you not afford 3 more musicians, or so why is not everything on the laptop? That kind of a thing. It just kind of instantly kills it for me. Which has a tradition. It makes sense because, like, in the tradition of classical music, the whole point was experiencing sound, experiencing music. So, of course, there's a grandiose visual element to it, but the important thing was the sound and the result of the sound. So it makes sense. So, like, oh, we can perfect this and accentuate it further by adding more material. But because now, this day and age, we have access to recorded music. You can listen to music whenever you want to. I think the holiness of a concert, it's kind of a shame to take away from that when people are obviously going specifically for the live experience and the performance element of it.
Yeah. How you can accentuate this, this connection between you as a performer and an audience, of creating, I don't know what the word is, more of sort of accessibility, that they can just
relatability or something.
Yeah, just that it's like really in an honest, something's presented in a really honest way, which makes it, I don't know, more honest to connect to.
Oh, yeah, they can kind of relate to it. Like just knowing we have it quite, because we use recorded sound as well. And this is like a very big existential thing that we currently have. We both kind of have, is we use recorded sound. So how can we embody recorded sound on stage in the context? And we found tape was like the most efficient way, because it's visual, like, putting a tape in a cassette player as a visual element. But then also it's very audible that it is recorded sound. There's no confusion of if it might be coming from something on stage. It's very, very evident sonically that, like, oh, they're playing recorded music. And it's very malleable. And both of us kind of really do, mess with the speed and manage to like pitch it and bend it in ways which is very, very fun and exciting. Issue is, anyone born after 96 can't tell what we're holding on stage. So often we get people coming up to us going, so yeah, what's that little black thing that you were holding?
Wow.
Yeah.
Which I was thinking about it. It's just so strange because, like, Caroline have a sampler. No one's going to come up to them and go like, what was that little black thing on a table that you were tapping?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess because it's like so kind of performative, the fact that both of us like pick this thing up and George puts it to her mouth and I close my eyes and clutch it as if I'm listening to it.
And it has a certain sound quality to it that is just very specific.
But that's like really freaking me out. Other than making me feel old, it's just this thing. I find it quite upsetting that people don't. It's not evident to people, what this parameter is, what this element is. And we've been thinking about it. We just don't really know what the alternative would just be. Plug in our phone for recorded music, but then you lose the malleability unless you download an app. But then you just enter this like whole realm of.
That image sounds. It feels so depressing when I speak about it. Just with like our fingers on phones, just trying to warp the speed.
Yeah.
on an iPad or something, like a tablet.
Yeah.
I find it so fascinating to hear you talk about this, because actually I find it quite exciting to hear about this puzzle that you're trying to resolve for yourselves, because what I love about the use of cassette within the context of your performance is that it feels, to me, the way I receive it is that it feels quite mindful of those things that you said to begin with, Alex, around like, why is the laptop there? Why is there recorded medium there? Like, it feels like the very fact that you've got it on stage is an engagement with that. But then also, it feels like that you're very intentionally not using recorded music as evidence of like a failed transposition from like an idea that happened at home to stage. And I guess the thing that kind of confuses people maybe is like, if the fact that you're making feedback from it and then holding it up like you're listening to it. I think the recorded media is almost intended to be quite dormant on stage, even if someone's hitting a pad or something, or has a laptop. Like the laptop isn't actually doing anything. You're kind of interacting with it, but you're not throwing it about and stuff. So it feels like you're taking it into this strange place where it's almost you're holding it like it's an instrument. So is it then a recorded media, or is it something else? It's very exciting to hear you talk about that. I actually really like the things that you're throwing up by using it there.
No, definitely no. Like, really, this kind of thing of toying with the medium, of how the medium influences the music, and the music can then embody parts of the medium. In art school, I got really into I was doing performances with a friend, and like speakers and how speakers within a space influence space and the sound and the malleability of the actual speaker itself, of like tearing a speaker or burning a speaker, or of just like, not that we ever did that because that'd be ridiculous, but this thing of just like turning how the source itself can become malleable and is this kind of physical thing, instead of it just being this purely holy authoritative thing. How that can actually be bent into and that's kind of by default, almost conceptually, like that's what feedback kind of is in a way.
Yeah. Gosh, I could drill down on this forever. But
let's do it. Make another coffee.
We should. There are other items on the agenda, unfortunately. Mainly your important albums. So, firstly, before we get to the album specifically, I wanted to ask about how you thought about the word important when picking these records. So, was there a way you understood the word important in order to come up with a list of records that you did? Maybe, George, let's start with you.
Quite tricky. Or in the beginning, I thought, should it be an album that's just that has always been important to me, or that has been influential since I was young? But then you kind of get these albums that now don't do the same thing for me as they did back then. No, so for me, it's kind of the albums that I keep coming back to, that I keep revisiting and re-exploring, and kind of keep, I don't know, that they kind of live with me, and they kind of prove to, they convince me every time that I listen to them again of why I like, what I enjoy about feedback, what I enjoy about guitar, what I enjoy about voice. It kind of brings something new every time. Like the more that I work with music, the more that I kind of pick out of the album as well.
Wicked. Alex, what about you?
I think with the selection, it was this thing of the significance, not I mean, all of them have been kind of influential. Have been hugely influential, especially on our album, or our music in general. But I think that they're kind of good representations of thought processes or philosophies or aesthetics that we're very, very into. So that, I think, in relation to this whole conversation, it made sense. These ones made sense in order to elaborate on who we are and why we are what we are musically, with them as very, very important references. I mean, the thing of importance to humanity went through my head, let's make a selection of, but then it's going to be we would only talk the Beatles. We would only talk.
Yeah.
I think with these four, because we both listened to all four of them a lot. I think what kind of connects them also in terms of importance is, do we listen to them in the car together while we're touring, for example? Nice. These are all four albums that get played and that we both just go crazy for, or then discuss, or I feel like that's kind of a good test of, does it work as an album for us?
Great answers. Okay, let's go for the first record then. Did you have a preference for the order we go through here?
Can I make a really quick pointer? There's one record we would definitely, hands down, have picked and discussed and would have probably spoken about for way too long. But unfortunately, Nina Garcia got to it first. Frustratingly so, because she was very, very positive about it. But she was kind of like, yeah, it's a great album. I just discovered it. It's quite good. And it hasn't obviously completely influenced every bit of her musical DNA the way it's influenced us. So the moment we heard that, we were We know Nina. We've played a few gigs with Nina, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
So that is, I feel almost I have the right to get annoyed that she snatched that album from us.
Yeah, in such a lighthearted way of, I just discovered this album. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Sorry, which album was that? You may have just said. I didn't catch it.
Oh, we actually didn't. Gasso del Sol.
Oh,
Upgrade
yeah.
Afterlife.
Upgrade and Afterlife. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, that was really like ball changer. Ball changer? That's not an expression.
Game changer.
Game changer. Life.
Ball breaker.
Ball breaker.
It's a full buster of a record, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm glad we got to at least shoehorn that in because, yeah, that is a wonderful record. So, yeah, is there an order that makes the most sense to you? If not, we can just go in any order. What do you think? Is there one you want to talk about first?
It's either order that we listened to it, that entered our lives, or actual chronology of release of maybe order in which we discovered them.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Which then would be, I think it'd be This Heat, US, no, This Heat, Cindy Lee, US Maple, Palm record.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So let's kick off with This Heat then, and it's the album Deceit. So maybe give me a little introduction as to why this one is important to you both.
With this album, I got introduced to this album through Alex. I'm trying to remember when or how, or I cannot remember when the first time was that I heard it. I think I've kind of heard pieces on the album sporadically and then started piecing them together as an album. And then only much later did I start listening to it as an album. I think what excites me most about it is just their approach towards the music and the way that they wrote, and how a lot of it is so scattered and so broken. I mean, yeah, as a guitar enthusiast, the melodies they play, the sort of textural sound and warping of guitar, and like really like a physical, it really sounds like a really physical way of guitar playing that really attracts me. That just always just really, really instantly moves me, that I find really exciting. Same way how they use their voice. And yeah, there's just this really loose approach to forming, I think, how the album has been formed of small ideas kind of scattered around, some really big, some really small, some really, really very defined songs, and some very, very just messy recordings and ideas to just get, different quality, different sound qualities that just kind of get mushed together. Yeah, I think for an album that's made in 81,
yeah,
it's just, it just amazes me how still so actual, so relevant.
I think it's like a pinnacle record. I think it is an incredibly... Yeah, it actually is. It wasn't that influential, I think. I mean, whoever listened to it probably was blown away, but I don't think it was ever that popular. They themselves say. It's just incredible. It's just first of all, the time frame, like it was made, they existed the same time Joy Division did, which is pretty wacky. It's kind of pretty crazy to think of.
Yeah.
That like we were listening to, this was like, I think second year of art school. And actually 3 different people sent me This Heat within the same week. So I don't know what YouTube was up to, or what the algorithm. And people sent it to me, like by the third time I was like, okay, I guess I actually have to listen to this. And I think the first one I heard must have been Paper Hats, which felt so relevant. It felt like music being made by indie bands in late 2010s. Just like rhythmically, like that strumming, that arpeggiating guitar thing was like I couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that it was made in 81. But it's just how the music, the mood, the lyrics, how everything is sung, and very importantly, the production have all been meticulously thought of to result in this one cohesive intention, let's say. And I think that was one of the very, very early examples of like recorded music for me, of how all of that was just like so important. How like the collage element had a textural characteristic which really influenced the kind of whole concept and the narrative. Like I think the best example is the track Cellophane. It's a very simple example. It's the fact that their lyrics, this thing of like consumerism, capitalist consumerism, and this one use mentality, is them is the sound of them rapping someone, like doing this like almost kind of tribal dance on like plastic buckets, was rapping, I imagine, the CEO of some like plastic company in cellophane, was they're like throwing stuff at him, and that's the sound of it. So you actually have the sound of like cellophane being unwrapped and then doing this little dance. And the way it's supposed to be, it's actually really crisp how that one's been recorded to make it really sound like it's them in a room. And they can kind of like conceptualize that to really accentuate that concept. Or they've got like this recording of one of the tracks which they played live. So then what you listen to on the album is the version of a live version, which just gets kind of like juxtaposed and chucked in. And it sounds terrible. It sounds like really, really rough, like really, really badly recorded. And it's long. It's like 2 or 3 minutes of this like really, really noisy, rough thing. But it makes sense. Like as a listener, you're no longer listening to it as music, but you're listening to it as like some kind of distant memory.
Yeah.
In it. Just stuff like that. It's just...
Yeah, such a life, the album.
So much, and the lyrics are incredible. I think they're incredible lyricists, and in combination with their voices and how the two of them are incredible players, and all three of them are pretty bad singers, and then manage. They're like out of tune, and it's just so good. It's just so beautiful how their voices are almost consciously out of tune.
Yeah,
together in a way, and. The thing that it's, again, which I think is really important for us also, is the fact that there's no hierarchy, and it's very, very evident that it's this kind of group, not only in the decision making and the writing, but also just like as identities on stage or on album, that like all three voices have the same significance and importance. That it's such a unity. There's such a unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like in the voices, in the way of saying, of how you're saying, like, yeah, they're not great technical singers. I was kind of doubting about that for a second, because I thought, like, no, I remember, like, if I'm trying to sing along to it, and I'm just, every time it's just like, damn, I cannot. But it's about the complete confidence in the way that they do it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, on Paper Hats, like the way that they sing the whole thing, it's like, it's just it's so forceful. It's so. And it's the same thing with Cellophane. It's not like a joke. Everything is so serious. Everything is so like direct and like. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps. My God, this record's so good.
Yeah, let's listen to it.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about, before discussing it with Alex, I was also thinking about the Flaming Tunes record, which is Gareth Williams from This Heat. And
is it Mary someone?
Oh wow, Mary
Curry?
Yeah.
Bravo.
Well,
Mary Curry.
Because that's an album that I've been listening to as well. I mean, that's an album that when I heard it for the first time, it did not let go of me, and it's kind of for the same reasons as with the Deceit album, that it's just so pure and honest in its approach of working with recorded music, working with musical ideas, doing this sort of collage form of writing, and not caring so much about how, that everything needs to have a certain quality to it, or a certain. It really just the environment and the setting and the time and the moment that is, the dominant factor. That's a really great one as well.
And also just sums up, which I think is really, really good, that although I feel it's quite... it's dated production-wise, it's dated technologically. I think musically it's still very, very relevant. But what I think is also incredible, which our generation aren't really aware of, is the fact that like a big, big part of the world, of at least maybe the Western world, and I know at least Britain, did actually think that there was a chance that they were all going to be annihilated. And they were living life with, the fear of nuclear holocaust being a really, really real thing. And there being like a lot of kind of scares at the time of bombs almost going off, or, misinterpreting cryptic messages from, the USSR or whatever. And it really wasn't just like a conspiracy theory kind of thing. It was a very real life of kind of living in fear of, our politicians have suddenly grown so powerful, and the results of their actions can be so devastating. And that's the whole spirit of the album. That's really what it's about from beginning to end. And the zeitgeist of the time leading to that form of existence.
Yeah, that's so fascinating, that context, because when I listen to this record as well, there are different fidelities and moments where you realize you're listening to something that's been recorded and then manipulated, so it's from a previous time, right? And then the manipulation might be in real time, or who knows, I don't know, it may have been processed again. But in the context of that sense of imminent annihilation, there's almost like a sort of manic relationship with posterity and recorded media and preservation and all of this kind of thing going through the record, where it's a sense of is this, this is something that we're recorded to perpetuate, but is it going to last? Like, I kind of feel that with this album.
No, fully. I mean, it's just I just have it, as I said, like, it was, I'm repeating myself, of just incredible how every single element of a record can go in to accentuate the intention. Production, drumming, singing, how we sing, all of it. The artwork, all of it. It's just this one cohesive thing, as you're also describing.
Maybe you've already answered this, but I thought I'd ask it specifically. So what are the elements of this record that you feel that you maybe consciously think about, or, pour into the way that you think about how you approach your music?
I mean, predominantly, at least for me, the sort of free approach to musical ideas, to just have one riff, to have one melody set, which I really feel also with this Heat album, that they just have such bangers on it. Just these just small little bits of vocal melodies, guitar riffs, little samples of something. They're just so strong, like so incredibly strong. And then from there, just, a world gets built around them. And I really like approaching our music in that way, of Alex and me communicating about this one little riff, this one little melody, or these three notes that we think fit somewhere. And then from there on, kind of create this patchwork of a musical piece.
I think this is going to be a occurring theme in most of the albums. I'm actually now thinking, it's going to be brought up with US Maple. It's going to be brought up with Cindy Lee. Of just kind of that, as like George says, of just like trusting the material for what it is and not needing to patch it into song. Of it just does not need to be this ABC kind of way of structuring something. If you think it's beautiful music, let it be beautiful music. And if you think it needs to be 5 minutes or 20 seconds, trust it and let it be. And it just gets woven in. That's like really, really evident. It's primarily evident in their first record, which is such a bizarre record.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's like 5 or 6 minutes of like really eerie dreamscape, nightmarescape, and then a tune, and then noise, and then a dance, revolutionary dance track, and then also like incredible lyrics and incredible voice. It's so bizarre, but just because they said, this works, this does it. And it does. It really does it. It's such. The first record is such a weird, nightmarish dreamscape. Although there's also songs in it. It's not completely abstract. There's actually songs in it. And the second one follows the kind of same spirit of it, but just kind of much more sober, almost like much more. We actually have something we really need to communicate.
Yes.
So I mean, like the drumming, definitely the guitar, all of it. Like the musicianship is quite impressive. And as I keep saying, just like this thing of production as medium was hugely influential, and I still hugely enjoy. I just amazed, like bangers, absolute bangers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to your second important record. I'm trying to recall what you said the second one in the order that you discovered them. US Maple, Talker, from 1999, right?
Yes. I was going to say that I might grab the mic and run with this one, but I know George has a lot to say as well. It's funny, and George has heard this story way too many times. This is like my drunken wedding story. That I was doing art. I was in Athens. I needed to go to my studio, and I had my backpack on, and I went like, oh, I'm out of music again. So I used to just have all my music on my phone, on my Nokia. So then with backpack on, I opened up my laptop, like, oh, what am I going to do? YouTube recommendations for the 28th time said, I think you should listen to US Maple. So then I MP3 converted their fourth album, Acre Thrills, put that on my phone, went to the studio, put it on, hated it. Like skipped, like, what is this pretentious crap? What is this? I'm done with this pretentious rock stuff. And then just because I would spend like an entire day in the studio time and time again, and I only had like how many albums on it, and at some point I was welding, so I had gloves on or my mask on or whatever. I literally just couldn't skip the album. So eventually it started playing. And then over the process of like maybe like a month or 2 months, occasionally the record would just come on again and it would just play in the background and I'd listen to it. And then literally kind of like the 10th time it went on, like the 9th time I was unamused, and the 10th time it just suddenly clicked. Oh my gosh, this actually is unbelievable. And it's funny because it's actually really far into kind of our musical development. We'd written a lot of the material for our first period of us. So it wasn't really necessarily influential in that way, but it was the discovery of like, oh my God, you can actually write songs in this way. And then we're talking, this is the fourth album. So then I completely obsessed over that record, like listened to it nonstop, as I always do. When I discover music I listen to it happily like 3 times a day. So then I went to the discography and then decided to go backwards, and I came to Talker, and I had the same thing, like, nope, this is impossible. This album is impossible. What is this? Which now is crazy, because to me it's just like the most normal album. It's just a rock album. I mean, the one thing that everyone always finds very, very off-putting is the voice. And I had it as well in the beginning, that generally his voice is, I understand why it's greatly detested.
It's an acquired taste.
A very acquired taste.
Yeah.
And no, by this point, just Talker is, I think it's also generally regarded as like their best record, because it's kind of like the insanity of what they always were, just like absolutely just mastered. Oh, this is actually, I just realized, a reoccurring theme in all 4 records, that all records, I feel, and I think often the acts themselves feel, are like the refined embodiment of what they're about. So like, the magnum opus of their career.
Yeah.
I've always been really, really into noise rock. And one of the things that I've really liked about noise rock is the kind of danger element, the kind of the aggressiveness of it, the energy of it, but then also within it the kind of freedom of creativity. Like there's also, for some reason, there's like a lot of inventiveness, like really practical inventiveness when it comes to Lightning Bolt have their microphone set up. The amount of inventiveness gone into boredoms and the instruments they've created there. And for example, with US Maple, which is you can't find this online. I only know this because I met someone who knew them personally. That the one guitarist of US Maple, because you kept hearing, like, especially on the album, you hear bass guitar, electric guitar, and electric guitar. But then there's only two guitarists. And it turned out what the guitarist had done is he had separated his picks.
Yeah.
To pick up the two bass strings separately. So had a jack on his guitar which went straight to the bass amp for the two bass strings, and actually had bass strings on it. And then the other four high strings, which were guitar strings, had a separate jack which went into guitar amp. Mad. Which is insane. Like if you hear how he plays it, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
How he manages to literally like play bass riffs and beautiful guitar melodies at the same time. And then next to that, it's the kind of camaraderie in how they're all on this. It seems that they're all so much on the same page of what their musical intention is, of how they want to bend rock and push it in ways that the voice will accentuate the guitar bending the painful melody, which the drums are refusing to, set actual platform for. It really, really sounds like they all lived together and all took the same drugs constantly, like daily.
Yeah.
And like, for example, and just like the stuff that both of them do on the guitar is so bizarre. How did you think of this? And how did you write this? Still resulting in incredible music. The drumming is of the most creative examples of drumming I've ever heard, ever. Like I can't write, which I hate myself for, I can't write that kind of drums, of being able to think so far out of the box of, do you know what? I'm not going to play a beat. I'm going to mess with it, but without sounding like you're just being annoying, without sounding like you're just messing with it for the sake of messing with it, of like, how can I accentuate the voice in this way? He does crazy stuff. The things he thinks, nothing too complicated necessarily, but just the writing behind it is incredible. Oh, he's got one which is just like floor tom, hi-hat, snare, hi-hat, floor tom. It's just so bizarre. And then, yeah, just the voice, just this like completely psychedelic, weirdly pervy, sexy voice, but so passionate. It's so endearing and so sweet.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible, I find it a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful emotional album, coming from like, my history of really liking rock music and kind of noisy rock music. I really feel that they mastered this thing of alternative music.
Yeah, I think for me, hearing Alex speak about it in this way, I feel Alex is in phase 5 of this album, of like understanding this album. If it had like a level degree of 1 to 10, or maybe he's on like a 6. Like he's deep down in this album. I am, I think, currently at level 3 of. I discovered these albums through Alex, and I think I'm going on the same journey as you. That in the beginning I would just hear Alex become this. Well, you said the word. Now I can say it too. Like kind of this, pervy character of like him singing this, doing the voice of Al. You bruises. But yeah, sometimes he would just become that character in the car, or like when we're loading stuff in or out, or playing, or when we finally sit down to rehearse, and he's like checking the mics, and he just becomes this old pervy man. And
so good.
And like would
get back the afternoon. Shut up.
Sometimes then would put it on, and for me also in the beginning it just it kind of went by me of like, okay, oh yeah, no, I cannot make sense of this. This is too much. I cannot make sense of this at all.
Just a bunch of noise. It really sounded like a bunch of noise in the beginning, which I can't remember why I felt that by this point.
And then for me, it was also realizing, like, wait, is the singer of that band, does he not play in high fidelity? Does he not play? is that not the guy that plays this music nerd that like, all these albums? Like, it's that guy. So that also created a really, really weird context surrounding this band for me. And then, for me, it clicked much later that I kind of went on my own sort of musical discovery of U.S. Maple, same order. Like really, really, really enjoying Acre Thrills, and then moving on to Talker, and it finally snapped. Like, it finally clicked with me. I think half a year ago, fully, that I turned to Alex, going like, "Yo, this album." Like, this album, Talker. Have you? He's like, yeah. But now I'm completely obsessing over it and trying to figure it. Like, I have not made sense of the guitar in the way, like, how their brains work and how they get to where they're going. But really, really enjoying that. Really, really, really enjoying trying to pick it apart as much as I can, but also really enjoying just this sort of ball of chaos that washes over me whenever I listen to it. So I hope that maybe next year I will have
It's so good.
I will be in a further stage of it's just like conspiracy theory, that you just it just gets crazier and crazier as going to be as with this album.
Yeah. Also, just the music. I mean, I think both of us, it's because it's really like guitar drum music. So I think listening to and relate, and clean guitar, like clean, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think they even had like their guitars overdrive on this album. They don't have, I think, any overdrive. Maybe. Anyway, of just kind of recognizing how beautiful and amazing drums and guitar can still be, and then also like the musicianship needing to like do these like crazy somersaults, but how important it is to actually land it for it to work musically. We were talking about it with Caroline last night because they have the same thing. They go out of rhythm a lot, but it's just so important that once in a while it needs to land again for it to be, and that's really make or break. Yeah. And unfortunately, we break it so often because we just often kind of miss, kind of just like that one where the bouzouki and the drums like land again for it to make sense of everything around. And just U.S. Maple did it.
Yeah.
Even in live videos, they just did. And they would come in. I could rant about this band so much. There's like videos of them coming in on moments, and you cannot understand how they knew that it's going to happen. It's just like the switch is going to happen, and it's just going to explode. But they would play like 5 days a week together. They'd play like they'd work and they'd go back to the studio and drink beers and just like play every single day together. They're one of those bands.
I mean, it's with them as well. Like, same with this Heat, that they are just such a force, like a joint force of characters that just are all equally important.
Such a unit,
and still some parts of it, like also some parts in the drums and in the voice and guitar, that are just so so clear and so direct and so easy and so catchy also.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I really need that in music. I really notice that with the music that I like, that it has this balance of just grabbing me for just, even if it's like 5 seconds, with a really, really sensitive melody or really pure sound or a really, hard riff or something, and then it just completely falling apart.
Yeah. I think we have that quite a lot. We're kind of always this thing of, and it gets influenced by who we're on tour with, who we're hanging out with, of, is it like, it's not songs, we don't write songs, but it is music, and the intention really is music. It needs to be a musical experience. It needs to be emotional. It needs to be motivating. We use our voices, not very often, but our voice is important because it's like, a very, very direct way of communicating emotionally. And then how that can be fit in with the kind of avant-garde experimental itch we have. And like, just so that, there's certain examples of how that can be done. And this is a very, very good example of that. Right, for example, when we did a couple of gigs with Nina Garcia and just like witnessing someone, and like her last record, which is also incredible, of like how full on noise and master of your instrument you can be, but then almost her very consciously saying, but I want to write almost songs. I want to write music now. I want to see if I can, I want to write a pop album. And she produces this like insane, noisy thing, which is like so emotional, so emotional.
Yeah, but still so accessible. Like still so, and same within performance. Like it's so communicative that it's, you know, really allowing you as an audience member to completely understand what she's doing and where she's going from like second to second.
Maybe this intersects with what you were just talking about in terms of your kind of relationship with songs and song form and that consideration within your work. But there's a really nice quote from an interview with US Maple. I think it's with Todd specifically, but he said that if it made us laugh and sounded cool, we went after it and tried to squeeze the rock from it. Which is so good. But I wondered, because that's a very intentional relationship with rock. There's this mindfulness over like the rock that can seep in, unless it sounds like that they took a very deliberate and almost antagonistic stance to rock and what rocks. Do you feel between you any relationship with that? Is there, like, do you think in terms of your relationship to rock being like, you know, drums and guitar at your base, is that something that you consider too?
I don't think on that level of, even like when they would perform, like he would wear gloves, or he would kind of dress the little elements, little details, which were still kind of in line with rock, just for them to kind of accentuate and mess with that further.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have it more abstractly with music and the notion of performing music greatly. But not so specifically about the. I mean, like for me, like I think it's drums and guitar because I am a drummer and I just feel I'm a drummer and that's my instrument and I can't think of not playing my instrument. I think George definitely feels the same about her instrument. So it's kind of, and that's why I think it's funny that with recorded music, with her recorded stuff, it's not, our instruments aren't that important anymore because it's not us playing our instruments. It's not an opportunity to play our instruments when working on an album. So it kind of maybe frees itself up. And they're like, I think with the record, it's a rock record, but I wouldn't say we're concerned about the questions of what rock is.
Yeah.
Like with most people, I can really see it was this concern of also like the performativeness of what does it mean to be in a rock band on stage. I don't think we have that. Us, it's like, what is it to be making music today? Like relevance is a really, really big topic in both of our heads. And generally, what is music and the perception of music, especially in live context, which I think has become quite evident that we're much more concerned and conscious about than the recorded stuff.
Yeah, I think we talk about that from time to time, or sort of go through a sort of, not necessarily like an identity crisis, but kind of a sort of constant reevaluation of what music do we make, or what, you know, how does this get defined, or like what should my attitude be on stage? That kind of sometimes kind of feels like playing different characters of, oh, we are a rock band, or we do rock music, and then suddenly it's like, oh no, we do, you know, we are a weirdo folk experimental group or something. Like it just kind of constantly shifts for me. But I like that we think we enjoy tapping into these sort of characteristic elements of what rock is to us, or like the rock that we've grown up listening to and still listen to, and embody that for like a little bit and then move away from it again.
No.
Yeah.
But I feel it's retrospective. It's never done so consciously in relation to, okay, what is the medium?
No.
or what is the genre or whatever. It's a matter of then contextualizing it. For example, we really struck that we've got one track on our album, and for me it really was a folk thing, and for George it kind of, what was it for you?
No, it was for me. It was folk, and for you, it was rock.
Which one are we talking about? Garden.
The guitar bit on Garden. Oh,
I have that completely different in my head. It was folk to me. So here's a nice sweet folk song, and for you it's like this noisy concoction of.
No, I think we both thought it was folk, but we both approached what is folk in a different way. Because I was talking about, no, let's like record this thing. I want to record this thing on a just a classical guitar, and just have like the the nylon sound is like plucking and me finding the version that we had to rock. I think it was that, yeah,
that kind of thing. I mean, so then that comes up as a topic of like, okay, we're trying to like share an experience, and how do we both interpret this experience in order to accentuate that experience, in order to bring that experience out. That's when we get, and that's what gets really annoying. This is a really big topic of kind of how blocky the music world and industry and the audience often is, and they so desperately need to kind of categorize and pinpoint things, which again is fine because it's this abstract thing, no one gets hurt by it. But when it actually results in who you're going to play with, what time you're going to play, how much you're going to get paid, when you actually get like pigeonholed, what's it called? What's the term?
Yeah, pigeonholed,
which is by what genre you are, for example. That's when I start getting like really, really annoyed. Like literally, it's going to influence the stage. Oh, you're this, then you're going to play on that stage. Yeah. Oh, you're this type, then you're going to get paid this much.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah. Just to round it off by bringing it back to US Maple, you mentioned, I think, that this is kind of like the apex of them doing their thing.
I don't know if they would. Sorry.
Go for it. Sorry, have I misunderstood that?
No. I doubt they would say it. I'm not sure if they would say it about themselves. I know one of the guitarists, who is the only sober one, and this is like, it feels a bit weird to kind of mention, but it is important. And they also mention it. They were on a ton of drugs, and I find that crazy to think of being able to. I think, live off of drugs in such a way that it's just part of how you exist and can create incredible music. Like, I cannot relate to that. I cannot. Maybe if you're having like acid for breakfast, maybe it happens. Maybe you get to that point. And he was the only sober one, the Mark Shippey. He was like always, I think he drank a bit, but he didn't do any of the drugs. And his favorite record is the second one, which is such a drug trip.
Wow.
The second one is like, you listen to it and you go like, okay, you've gone mad. It's so exactly in this thing that we were talking before about, like the first, this Heat album, of just like the logic. You cannot make sense of the logic behind it. Of why it made sense to put that riff there, and why they all stop there, and why he's only wheezing by himself, but in a very unpretentious way. It's just like, how does this make sense to you? It sounds like accidentally they deleted half of the files, half of the layers of the music, and like, oh shit, what happened to like the sax and the drums? Like, oh yeah, I guess we have to release it either way. It's so whack. And he says like that is the epitome. That is like his magnum opus. Yeah. But no, I know that like with Talker, generally it's regarded by US Maple fans as like the album.
Yeah. Maybe that's a better way to approach that. I mean, it's the important one. It's the one you picked. What does Talker have that edges it out for you as the record that you want it to pick here, as opposed to another one of US Maples?
It's my favorite. I think the songs are it's got really nice. It's quite short actually. It's 30 minutes, although it doesn't feel too short.
It feels so much longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just got bangers, man. It's just bangers.
Bangers.
It's just got incredible tracks. It's just done, and I think it's the calmest one yet compared to the first one, and the second one. It's them as if like having sobered up and giving it another go of like, okay, let's actually. So like them going like, okay, so what is song? And just a beautiful, beautiful, very organic, very, very emotional result coming from that.
Yeah.
The fourth one's similar, but I just find, and even more so, even more grounded. But I think that's why I think with the third one, it's whack enough and bizarre enough and creative enough.
Yeah. And this like, I think it's the only word I can find for it. Like swells, the swells. There's so many swells in the album, and just in terms of guitar, that it just like it feels like there's like a string going into my body that's just like slowly like dragging me up.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I think what you just said before the line, "Why is he wheezing by himself?" I think is a really nice description of Hughes Maple.
Yeah. But it's just so like, 'cause, like even in his singing, it's actually so beautiful. Like, they've got the one track.
It can be really intimate, like really, really intimate.
Yeah, Stupid Indoors. What's it called? Stupid Indoors, I think. And it's so beautiful. It's so emotional. Just the way he sings to you, like so frailly.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Do you have anything else you wanted to say about Talker or US Maple before?
Yes. But let's hit the pub. I mean, no, it's like, we're done. I think we're done.
I could have seen them. They played at Supersonic Festival in 2006, and I went. I was 16 years old, and I was just checking out the lineup, and there was like, I saw the name US Maple, so I was like, okay, I'll check them out just beforehand, just like stream a song or whatever. And I listened to them, and I was like, I was going with my dad as well because I was 16, so I couldn't go on my own. And I listened to the track, and I was like, I don't know about that. But I was so close to being able to see them, and not only that, I was so close to my dad being able to see US Maple as well, which I think he would probably might have been a flashpoint in his life, to be honest. But we'll never know.
We've actually literally had, this is too nerdy, this is too ridiculous. We've actually literally had this conversation of how much money would you spend to go into a time machine to see US Maple live?
Yeah.
And I think I'm at 400 euros.
Wow.
I think you pay much more than
No,
that.
I don't. I think 400 euros. That's maybe it.
That's a good amount.
You do it for 1,000 down.
Yeah.
That's such a considered amount. I like that. That's very practical.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe a bit more. I don't know. I'm around there. That's where I got to. Before, like, it used to be like 200 euros, but like, no, come on, it's US fucking Maple, man. Like,
it's hard because then if Todd said it's 480 and we'll do it, then like that would change things, wouldn't it?
But no.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. You got to draw your line somewhere.
Sorry, Todd.
You showed bad. Some hands round
Let's go to your third important album, which is the next in the list. I think it was Cindy Lee, right?
Yeah, I think it was Cindy Lee. Cindy Lee, What's Tonight to Eternity. Yeah, it's like, it just sparks the soundtrack. Wow. Where to begin?
Women.
I grew up listening to women. I think back when the
Should we give the disclaimer to the listeners of the band name Women?
Yeah, the band is called Women. Yeah.
The band, the band is called. Oh yeah, what was it? Yeah, we had an interview at some point where at some point I spoke about women, and like I spoke separately about women and about 60s music, like that I grew up listening to a lot of bands from the 1960s, and UK bands and American bands, and the interview kind of turned it into that I really enjoyed women in the 60s, like women, female musical bands from the 60s, which I also did, but not in that sort of specific way.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's a really.
And it was super awkward because then we had to like write an email going, "Hey, George didn't mean that she appreciated music by women. She appreciated music of men." Named.
The woman in the band didn't enjoy female music. She enjoyed four guys in Canada on guitars and drums. So Women is a band, was a 4-piece band from Calgary, and I discovered them through the internet back when they came out with the self-titled album in 2008, and was I think completely fixed on their approach to music and their approach to guitar playing. This thing, I think also, what's I think what Alex mentioned about this Heat album, this like these super clear arpeggios and super weird like schemes and rhythms and also really like physicalness to playing. I really enjoyed with all the music that Women put out. Which is greatly connected to Patrick Flegel, who is Cindy Lee. And with this record, I think like having seen, I saw Women live back in 2010 at a festival, and just understanding, like, being so amazed by the level, like the skill of guitar playing and the speed and the intricacies of the riffs. What I enjoy so much about the What's the Night to Eternity is this thing of, you know that they can do so much with guitar, but to do very little, just like, how much skill and how much experience is in those two hands, and then what they then decide to do with it is just, I think, really marvelous.
And actually, maybe a point to make that in relation to his pronouns, we met him once and asked him how to address him, and he goes by he. He said at the time he goes by he.
I guess I should say he. I think what with this album, and I think Alex would also agree with that, is just the use of feedback is just phenomenal. To
virtuoso feedbacker.
Yeah, to make noise sound so beautiful is kind of what it is. So glistening and so clear, and but also dark. I feel like the whole album rides like a perfect line constantly between like chaos and beauty and darkness and like lightness, this sort of heavenly approach, which also really throughout the whole thing it feels like a really, really long journey, constantly battling between light and dark.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really, really beautiful.
For me, it's this thing of, because and in relation to this thing of, let's say, magnum opus, which I'm quite sure that he wouldn't like define it as his greatest record, but it really, really, really stands out as the most refined one up until at least the last one, Diamond Jubilee, that came out, which is a whole other discussion. Yeah. No, because it's like when the first one came out, it was, oh wow, this is the solo record of the guitarist of Women, who the Women having broken up due to really bad mental health, and then released this really dark, creepy, noisy, processed voice. And obviously, the identity I think gender dysphoria, which is integral to his music, the gender dysphoria within it, when that was like the first glimpse that we kind of got of, you know, his next step, was, yeah, it was quite, and done so roughly and like so DIY. But then of course it being incredibly beautiful. It was kind of freaky almost. It was kind of, I don't know. I found it kind of disturbing of like this kind of almost this really, really real dark thing. This almost, yeah, to the point of almost kind of disturbing. And the second album, like, so every single time he released something, I felt like, oh my gosh, he's really going through something now. And then the third one came out, like, oh my gosh, he's really going through something now. And then the fourth one came out, which is this one, and it suddenly was apparent that, you know, he's actually like a master of his own craft. He really knows what he's doing. Not that any of it was just, you know, freaking out in a bedroom. All of it was so skillfully done. And now it was very, very consciously saying, like, I am going to make a beautiful pop album, which is still really, really true and real to him and the whole spirit of Cindy Lee in the lyrics and the darkness and the feedback and the noise. But just that, it was, I think, really, really interesting and very kind of inspiring to kind of sense like such a self-awareness of what their medium is, what their persona and identity is, and how they can really, really accentuate that to make, first of all, to like reach wider audiences, but also to just like really give it a go. And then, which is so funny, because then the next record is back to DIY in my attic wackiness, like absolute insanity. And it's just that, it's like there, I think one of the cases of just being so prolific, so naturally prolific, but in not a cheap way. Like just being so skilled and such a master of your own vocabulary and world that you can kind of.
Yeah,
and then
but it's I feel like it's that kind of thing. I don't know if like how to explain it well, but this thing of if you have all these cards in your deck, or like, you know, but you only need to show these two to make it work. This thing of there's so much within it. There's so much experience. There's so much craft. There's so much depth to the way like all of the music is created. I think there's so much more that you can do. I mean, it's this I feel like also with our music, that it's also not about wanting to make our instruments sound as, you know, as the most incredible form you can get it at, like the most skillful thing, to do the coolest thing or to do the trickiest thing. It's really about like doing if it's just about this really small melody, this really small riff, which I think that's what also connects me to Flaming Tunes and this heat of it, this very, very simplistic thing, even if you have so many cards, you know, in your deck that you're not showing. I really feel that with this Cindy Lee album, that it's just so kind of pulled back, but there's so much like seeping from it. Yeah.
a big thing. Well, I think, you know, Cindy Lee is a very, very good example of this, is this whole thing of relevance and music and art today, you know, in like postmodernist culture, and, you know, how relevant, how up to date can you really be? I've read a ton of Mark Fisher, so I've become very kind of hyper aware of that, because I relate to it. I really, really like kind of the philosophy behind it of what is this necessity, what is nostalgia, and what is kind of, how can you recognize nostalgia and then actually play with it to kind of bring to focus, I don't know, political, social, emotional concerns that you have today. And I think Cindy Lee is a really, really good example of that. It's obviously reflects dated music. It reflects music from like the 60s and the 70s, but all done in such a way, in this kind of nightmare-y, dreamy way, that it's very, very conscious. Again, with identity, let's say politics. So I don't want to call it politics, but just this notion, these questions of identity, how almost the psychedelia of this nostalgia and this attempt to make sense or dream of what it is to be kind of today.
Yeah.
Which I think also like really ties in with, I know like he talks about it a lot in interviews about his own mental health and how that's very, very representative of his, you know, kind of like search through mental health, of relating to this music, which he finds very, very beautiful and comes from his, you know, his a history which isn't even his own. I think he talks about that also, that it's like it's a history, it's a culture, it's a musical culture which actually isn't necessarily really his own. A lot of music, like he didn't grow up in that time period, but still can almost kind of relate to that, so kind of can dream within it. So then contextualizing it today and making it relevant today by adding the noise and adding the performativeness of it. I just think that's done just so beautifully, so beautifully. It's quite David Lynch in a way, of the same thing of the dreamscape and how that relates to you as the individual in actual real life, let's say, without it being escapist, because it's so apparent that it's very, almost that it is escapist, like it's so explicitly unreal in a way.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I find really compelling about it, is that this relates to a lot of what you've both just spoken about, but this idea of kind of, there is elements of something former and something past, but it's so non-specific that if you follow it back, then you just kind of get lost. It's not like you arrive at some authentic rendering of like the 50s or the 60s. It's this weird, vague hinter region that just isn't based in anything that, you know, it gets all very like amorphous and phantom like quite quickly if you travel through it.
And how that relates, like all of it. I mean, it's just the hauntology thing, which just that of like, so what does it mean, the fact that we all kind of look into that, find it comforting almost? And this is what's so beautiful about Cindy Lee, because it's comforting but also not comforting. It's so on edge musically. It's like so kind of out of tune and so harsh and so noisy also, that you're kind of on the, we saw them live years ago and it was so loud. It was a noise gig. It actually was a noise gig.
Was that Cindy Lee?
It was Cindy Lee with his partner was on tour with him. It was a bit awkward, and
also insane guitarist.
Yeah, somebody like just shredded.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but just it was a noise gig. It just was so loud, so harsh, so feedback heavy.
Yeah, it was really rough.
It was really rough. It was a noise gig. It was a proper noise gig. Yeah. Which I think neither of us even expected. We thought it was going to be this kind of more poppy, weird, experimental, poppy performative thing, but it was pretty much a drag noise gig.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but it's that. I think that's also what attracts me so much to Cindy Lee in general. It's this. It has such a feeling of its own, of recognizing this is Cindy Lee music. This is them. But I think the most masterful thing being how it consoles you so much, and I still cannot really like put my finger on how that works. Like, how are these melodies? How can feedback comfort me so much in such a way?
Yeah.
How can this voice comfort me in such a way? How can this really abrasive character of guitar playing and guitar noise? How does that reach that deep into this like consoling, comforting embrace?
Because it's so violent, especially the way they use it. It's so violent. It really feels like being stabbed almost. It's so piercing in a way.
Yeah, that's why it's paired with something else. It's paired with something that's really harsh and really, I don't know, really real, really scary. But I don't know. And like it's not something calming that's just patting you on the head and telling you everything is going to be okay. It reaches something very, very different.
But it's so strange that
very, very impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of which, I saw Patrick talking about the song "I Want You to Suffer," and someone was like, "What's that about?" And he was literally like, "Oh, there is someone very specific that I think should suffer because."
Oh my god!
And I guess the context is maybe also important there. That I think they'd been Patrick had been mistreated by this person potentially. I don't know. There's again I'm kind of paraphrasing, but basically it was like, no, I specifically think that this person should suffer. Wow. So this is very, it's not just like a throwaway phrase. There is like as you say, it's not patting you on the head. It's quite an authentic form of darkness.
Yeah. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's also like the way Patrick can transform this pain, this really, really intense pain, into music in such a way that gets, that becomes such a personal experience. That in that way, it kind of comforts, not comforts, but it
makes sense of.
Yeah, it gets communicated very directly. Like it gets, yeah.
What do you think are the elements of what Cindy Lee does that feel most relevant to what you do?
I think for me, it's definitely the approach to, trying to walk the rope between, are we going to make it or is this completely falling apart? That thing. What we were talking about before with the feedback and like, is this going to be a really beautiful, intense experience of 4 minutes, or is this going to be really, really harsh and wrong? And the sort of danger within that, I feel also really comes back from their music.
The performative consciousness, the pop, the allure of pop. Like, I mean, I think both George and I are huge. We do enjoy poppy melodies.
Yeah.
I'm such a sucker for poppy vocal melodies, but how you can contextualize it in interesting music.
Yeah, like pop elements being wrapped in noise, in
yeah, which is that it's not in the sense of it being like a genre thing, but again, just like kind of relating to kind of catchy melodies. With Deftones, I grew up listening to Deftones. I really, really love Deftones. He's got such insanely poppy melodies, but I think it's so beautiful. He's got this really, really, really harsh platform, and then he just does these kind of searing, crazy, violin-esque melodies.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing with them, isn't it? It's like you got the guitarist who's an obsessive with Meshuggah and downstream metal music, and then a singer who just wants to write songs like the Smiths.
Yeah, exactly. And it just works so well. That's such a good way of putting it. No, so it's that. It's also like we kind of have that of just this thing of, and actually I do think Cindy Lee has been a direct influence to that of how can we, I think it's come up, like the level of noise has come up in conversation of how noisy can we be. George is a bit more modest than I am, or I'm a bit less modest than George or I ought to be. I'm like, man, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. Fuck it. Like, see what happens. And Joe's like, well, yeah, let's not subject people to aliens. So then, like, Cindy Lee has come up time and time again this example of like, okay, but how can we contextualize this level of visceral, physical noise? Why do we like that, but we're so scared of doing it ourselves? Let's say.
Yeah, but I mean that's also like really skill. Of like, yeah, you can let a guitar or a bouzouki or a tape player or a drum kit feedback and make it harsh, but that still doesn't make it music per se.
Yeah.
It's really about controlling it and kind of knowing. I mean, it's not always controlled, but like kind of knowing where you want to guide it and how you are introducing it, which Cindy Lee does so well.
Just does so fucking well. And this is the thing, again, like with this album, it's, just managing to really consciously say like, okay, this is me and I'm going to contextualize it in a way that Pitchfork will review it.
Yeah.
And it's still being an incredible, incredible album. And then next album, okay, I'm back to me, and then just does this super wacky, crazy, noisy thing.
What did you make of Diamond Jubilee?
It's really, really nice to see that he's doing better and feeling better. But I didn't really get into it musically. It's good. It's really good. It's like it's good in the sense that it's one of these albums that I've actually put on in social contexts and people haven't told me off, and I get into it myself.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm not too into it.
I think that's a really, really strange thing. Suddenly that you would hear Cindy Lee being played in a room with several people, during dinners or during. That has been such a change. That then I'm not aware of it because I also haven't listened to it that many times. That sometimes it would take a while for me, like suddenly, like as if you're having a conversation with a few people and suddenly you see someone in the back of the room who has been standing there in the corner all this time, and it's Cindy Lee. That's kind of what it feels like. Wait, like, I recognize this, like this feeling. It's like, why is this? Oh wait, what? Somebody put on Diamond Jubilee. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so happy that they're just getting the attention, but it's also like I can really see, I can really imagine how aggravating that must be.
Yeah.
To have been Cindy Lee for 10 years and pumping out beautiful music, and now that you've kind of just made it 2% poppier, the world suddenly cares, and not only cares, praises it as. Which is not, it's so nice, but also must be so frustrating. I think still Houseplants must have that. Like, they released their fourth album, No, I don't know the numbers. They released their last album, and it's 3% cleaner. The rhythms are 3% more straightforward, and the production is 5% crisper, and suddenly, like, it explodes. It must be, like, so aggravating. We kind of had it just like the moment we released recorded music, people cared. We've been playing for years, and we had to release recorded music for people to actually start booking us. And that's like annoying. I find that really annoying.
Yeah. And that's like, oh, look at this great new artist or new band. Which I imagine so many people that got introduced to Cindy Lee see it that way. Like, oh, this is like the latest discovery in music.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you don't even know.
Yeah. No, in the hips, just literally in a sense, just relating to the musician behind it.
Yeah,
this person's was working in a pizzeria for so long, just trying to like make ends meet.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I'm really happy that so many more people get introduced to Cindy Lee.
Definitely.
This way.
Yeah. That's the thing, I guess, isn't it? It's like, it must make you very cynical about the system that suddenly holds you aloft for some kind of arbitrary reason of like salience, and you're like, well, it's not like you can really enjoy that or relish it because it just feels so arbitrary. But then it does bring with it people who are sincerely discovering your music and enjoying it, and like you know, which is a different thing.
No, again, it's just this wacky thing of you can't predict how people are gonna perceive your music, how they're going to come across your music. I got really frustrated. At some point, someone came up to us and was, "Oh yeah, you guys are really obscure. Like, there's nothing of you online." And I was like, if you Google us, you will find YouTube videos, you will find our Bandcamp, you will find material. Just because you once punched it in on Spotify and we didn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole streaming service and Spotify thing that is a conversation for a different day, but it's
right now.
It's very aggravating.
Yeah.
I think one last little thing I'd like to say about the Cindy Lee record is that they've got, there's one track, there's a few tracks, but there's one track which is kind of, I think if I had to pick 10 tracks to be representative of what I like in music, it would probably be one of those, which is Speaking From Above, which it's just a culmination of noise, haunting pop voice, and just beautiful. That's so beautiful. But it's like on a conceptual level also, I just think it's like it's such a good example of what I hugely appreciate in music.
Also great cover art.
Yeah.
I mean, same, I think with all the albums now, like also This Heat is, that cover art is also so connected to the music for me.
Yeah.
Same way with this one. It just, the image pops, like, you know, like when it said "What's Night to Eternity" and it like rolls the soundtrack. It also like, you know, put the picture up in my head.
Yeah.
Of the candles. And, yeah.
Great. Shall we go to your final important album?
Totally.
All right. So we've got Palm, Nix, and Grazers from 2022. So whichever one of you wants to go first, let me into a little bit about why this album is important to you.
We played a gig in Amsterdam around 2 weeks ago where we opened for Cassie Crut, which is two of the members of Palm, and Matthew, or Matt, who is also another band, but also produced the last Palm album, Nix and Grazes.
He was in Mothers.
And he was in Mothers.
He was the drummer of Mothers.
Yeah. And it was really nice that we got to talk with them personally, because during the time that we worked on our album, like being heavily into the sort of, I mean, it went back and forth between recording and writing and production, but kind of when it was in the heavy phase of production, we listened a lot to Nix and Grazes, which is every time we would listen to something that we had just made and trying to make sense of it and play. And I feel like it's happened many times. We would play in the car to sort of test it. It's like, okay, so here is a piece of music, and then judge that. And then right after put on Nix and Grazes, which would just like kind of just slap us in the face of like, God damn it. Cause it's an incredible record, I think.
Yeah. I mean, at Palm we were following for ages. I remember George and I used to do quite straightforward kind of rock stuff when we started off. Not rock, kind of party rock, noisy, dancey rock stuff. We would constantly get invited. No, we wouldn't. We would constantly push ourselves.
Invite ourselves
to like people's house parties or New Year's parties and stuff. So we ended up having to adapt our set to be quite party-esque.
Right.
And then at some point we got really fed up and had to graduate, so just stopped for a while. And then when we stopped, and I got really existential about music, and we were listening also to really, really different music, and we both got really, really, we had been listening to a lot of indie rock stuff and just got so viciously sick of indie rock. I was back in Greece at my parents' place. I was hanging out with my little brother. I think he was like eating fish fingers or whatever, and we're like, "Oh, do you know this band?" And he showed me a video of Palm playing. This is years ago, and I as we say in Greek,
Gamato.
I just forgot that. In Greek, you say "egina kokalo," which means I turned to bone. I completely froze up.
Wow.
It was just incredible, because it was the kind of music. It was, if we had continued on the trajectory of rock music and trying to really think of alternative rock music, they had just mastered it. They had completely done it. They'd answered that question.
Yeah.
And it was, again, existentially very, very significant in that it was just evident that rock music is still very, very valid, very, very relevant, and can still be really, really relevant. We get quite self-conscious about how 90s we might be, or how kind of old-fashioned we might be. And like Palm were just one of these examples where like, no, guitar, drums, bass is still so relevant. Parenthesis, maybe another example of this is this Polish band Kurws. Do you know this band?
No. How do you spell that?
They're like one of the greatest bands ever.
It's Kurws.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're mad. Like we were debating choosing them as well, but there's more in the slot which Palm have fit in. But Palm, there's more to talk about production as well, so we went for Palm. Kurws are crazy. Kurws are drums, guitar, bass, and just it's like modern Dadaist rock.
Oh, cool.
Really, really cool. And live, incredible. Super tight. And again, this example, they were squatters. They were all living together and they played together every single day. Yeah. And it was super apparent in how their communication. Anyway, and Palm are really in that same thing of like really relevant rock, very, very tight, very, very impressive on their instrumentation. And then same as Kurws and Palm, just music that you cannot understand how they wrote. Like you just cannot understand the logic behind how things get constructed.
Yeah, where something started.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it all came out like clean in one whole thing, or if it was a battle of, months trying to connect pieces together.
But not like connect the notes, because it goes like it's one guitar will play a note, the bass will play a note, and then the drums will play a note, and then the sampled timpani will play a note, and all of those together will actually make the melody, which is insane. It's incredible how they do that. So then, with Nicks and Grazes, it was just that we were deep in our own music writing and recording, and especially mixing. And then that record came out, and it was just, what are we doing? Why are we even trying to do this?
Yeah, because
it sounded so relevant, so powerful, and so beautiful. It really was like. It pushed me back down in my rocking chair, pretty much, just like...
Yeah. Try again.
Try again.
Try again. Yeah. No, powerful is, I think, a really good word for this. It's just, yeah.
No, we really tried it with our record to kind of make things really pop out and really stand out and be really explosive. And they just did it brilliantly. And it's the bloody first album. It was Matt, who's now in Cassie Crut. He primarily recorded it and mixed it, and it's the first record he ever did, and it sounds so professional.
First record he ever properly produced.
Yeah. He had a bit to say on the Mother's record, which he worked on next to this. I can't remember his name. Some other big producer, but this is the first one he single-handedly did. And I know it sounds insane. It sounds so professional. It sounds so.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of how production is part of the music, so embedded in how you can accentuate sounds, moods. They do this thing which I think is incredible, and it's maybe a projection, maybe it's not true. And I wanted to ask them when we saw them, but got a bit too self-conscious about completely fanboying them.
About asking an 11th question after the first one.
An 11th Palm question also at a Cassie Crut gig. Yeah. It seems they've, I don't know, okay, so it seems they've managed to create a way of shaping his voice into being a hybrid voice between the two of them. They're also a couple, so they're, a romantic couple. So it's either him singing or her singing or them singing together, and it seems they've made this hybrid voice, which is them two together. Which I just think conceptually also is so cute and so beautiful, although also kind of creepy. It's got this Genesis P. Origins kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
But just that, managing to, because we're also quite interested in kind of voice and voice manipulation. And that was just a really, really beautiful example of that, where you listen to it and you just can't really tell. Again, it rids them of their identity and the significance of identity within the music. It's not about them as characters, them as individuals, but it's just this musical entity, which is, but just musically so rich. I personally cannot write music like that. just can't. I just cannot write music that complicated and yet beautiful. And it's in a very positive, in a very inspiring way of just like, wow, look at. I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but it is a really, really. To me, this album is a masterpiece. It's like, it's not going to go down in history as a masterpiece, unfortunately, but I really think it's a masterful masterpiece.
Yeah, and we were talking with them about it as well. Of like, it kind of makes sense that this is also where they end it, where they end the band. Like they've kind of done it all. Is what it kind of feels like. They've done what they wanted to do, and then now moved on to a different project, which is also very, very interesting and great. And very really different.
Good. Really good. No, just that of just having mastered it, of like them being so concerned with their sound and them, constantly trying to refigure out what they're up to and what they're doing. And then this just being it's like, and they say it themselves that they feel like this is the most representative of what their intention for the whole, 10, 12 years that they were playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then just to stop after that as well is just so, there's something so mindful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it makes that like George and I, it's heavy. Like working on an album, it's intense. It's intense. And this is actually the other thing which was so hard when we were working on our album was 3 bands broke up. We were bashing our heads against the wall trying to work on an album. Palm broke up, Kurvs broke up, and this Dutch band broke up, which is much smaller scale. But I discovered them during COVID and went like, oh my gosh, there's an incredible Dutch band. There's like someone else in the scene doing really, really cool stuff, and then they also broke up.
So how did that factor into what you were kind of going through with your record?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Getting broker and broker by the day and spending so much time behind a laptop.
Yeah.
Kind of like not seeing friends, not being the nicest of partners because I'm just so obsessively obsessed with this one thing. No, it's just existential. It's just like...
It's like maybe they're onto something. Just
yeah.
Like, do we not know something about that we should know? I've not discovered yet.
Yeah. I mean, in all cases, what's nice with like Kurvs and with Palm, it's not as if they quit and then got a job. It's they quit and then started new projects.
Yeah.
So it's not like an end to music. It's just unfortunately an end to the specific setup they had.
Yeah. So my brother actually introduced me to Palm, and weirdly this is the record I know after he introduced me to it, but he was like, oh, I don't really even listen to that one. It's Rock Island, I think, that he connects with. But I put on the Cassie Crut EP for the first time last night and was really surprised. I didn't know any context, so I was like, oh wow, is this where we're at now? I mean, it sounds like from what I've gathered so far that you really connect with the Cassie Crut stuff too. Yeah, what do you make of Cassie Crut and that new EP, or latest EP rather?
I think the first time I listened to it, I think I had a similar reaction to what you had, of like, oh, is this now where we are? is this now where we what happened between this, like the gap between the end of Palm and this that made them go into this direction? But also just, I don't know, I can really feel the excitement and the newness and the sort of the really like wanting to explore these new ways of making music, and that it just really rubs off on me as well. And we saw them at Rewire Festival, where we also played last April. It was so loud. But it really confirmed this thing for me of like this excitement that you could just also really tell in the way that they wanted to play and wanted to perform, and so playful, but like so impressive in the way that everything is connected. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just like I needed the gig to contextualize it, to make sense of the fact that it's actually dance music. It really, really is dance music.
Right.
They say their intention, they're primarily interested in the recorded material, which I find kind of strange, because I think it's really, really good. But for me, it's really like it makes you want to dance or drive really fast.
Yes, yeah.
I need to see the gig to really get that of like, oh, this is energetic dance music, and then I could go back to the EP. And I've obsessed. I've listened to the EP again. I've gone through phases where I'd listen to it because it's also quite short, like 5 times a day. I really, and there's one track on it, the third one, Untitled, which is such a sexy track. It's so sexy. I don't know. I just really love it for that reason. Again, it's like weird, sweet kind of voice, and yeah, it's so good. No, but the Palm, it's like just the Palm album is like I think also it kind of feels like it. The Cassie Crutch stuff, it's also like, let's have fun. Let's try and have fun now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about Palm or Nicks and Grazes specifically before we move on?
Again, for me, it was one of these, same as the US Maple one. I had to, as I think you also said, you kind of, or your brother my brother has the same thing. My brother introduced me to Palm and doesn't really listen to Nicks and Grazes.
Right.
But I had to listen to Nicks and Grazes about 5 times in order to be able to have made sense of it, to be able to listen to it. It's so layered that it's quite baffling and intimidating to start with. But once you've heard it and have managed to like dissect and separate these layers, you can then listen to it as its whole. And what's so nice about it is that each time you listen to it, you kind of discover more and more stuff, more and more things, which was very important for us when working on the album. Again, very representative of the distinction we have between recorded music and the live music, because the live music is really this thing of, it's a one-to-one narrative where every statement you make is just left in remnants of memory in relation to influence what's about to come. With recorded music, you can listen to it 20 times, so this thing of suspense is no longer there. So then for that reason, you can be so much more layered, you can be so much more complicated, because it's also better, I feel, because it means that it has a longer lifespan, as people will need to like return to it to kind of make more and more sense of it.
Great. Well, I have a couple more questions for you both. The first is about how you tend to bring music into your lives. So, I mean, firstly, where does your music listening tend to take place?
The most enjoyable way, or the most intense way of music listening for me, is actually in the car.
Yeah.
While driving. I mean, not while being driven. I mean, I'm working on getting my driver's license. So I have to say, while getting driven. I think for me, it's just the best, easiest way for me to completely focus on listening to music. Maybe not in the best quality surrounding, but just the most intense way of experiencing it. And for the rest, I think, I mean, I collect records. I collect a lot of records, but I've kind of become a bit more slow with my purchasing habits. And I rarely put on music here at home to really discover something new. I kind of always have to be traveling somewhere or walking somewhere in order to focus on it. Or at least that's where I enjoy it most. Yeah.
Nice.
I can't really drive without listening to music. But also like in a very kind of consumerist way, also that I kind of just need something to be playing. So very often, that's also why I end up listening to the same thing time and time and time again, and piss off all my friends and bandmates. Where else do I listen to music? Then neither of us really do the headphones thing. Neither of us really walk down the street listening to music.
I do. I mean, I do with. Yeah, no. For me, that's a big way of just having headphones on, walking somewhere or cycling somewhere or doing groceries is kind of for me the most enjoyable way. Like, but also I think because I then automatically connect the music to my surrounding or to an image or like the color of a car or something that happened on the street, that then like, I don't know, it always sits with me. Like, for example, when I discovered Gilliband's Talkies. Is it Talkies?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Talker, but no, Talkies. I was in a period of my life where I had to cycle a lot between my house and the studio where I work, which is like a 10-minute cycle. And that's when I was so obsessed with that album that I would just always listen to that. And now whenever I have to cycle that length and that route, I just hear Gilliband. It's just kind of that. And I really enjoy that way of sort of letting music be sort of imprinted on my surrounding. And yeah, I really enjoy that.
Yeah. I don't have that much. I don't really listen to music in the house that much anymore. I don't really. I don't know why I don't think of it so much. Gigs, like really gigs. Both of us, but I really constantly search for gigs. Gigs. I constantly try and find gigs to go to in Athens because I'm kind of between The Hague and Athens currently. Athens is good for tons of gigs, like every night almost. There's so much going on, so it's very like instead of going for a drink with a friend, you can just like go to a gig kind of a thing.
What kind of formats do you prefer? Where do you tend to buy music, and what kind of formats do you tend to go for?
I think generally I try to buy as much directly through Bandcamp, if it's accessible there, and else directly at a gig. I think is the nicest way to just buy directly off someone.
Yeah,
we've done a ton of record shop shopping.
Yeah, I think it's that between like vinyl or just listening to the digital file on my phone. Yeah, and then CDs. You buy quite a lot of CDs for the car.
Yeah, because of the car, I do CD. I get excited when I see if someone's selling CD. I get quite excited.
We have US Maple on CD.
We got US Maple on CD.
Lovely.
So now George's records and CDs, and we're both Bandcamp primarily.
Yeah.
Wicked.
I mean, George had a period where she had Spotify, which I secretly was really, really happy with because we then had access to everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm using my phone for maps, so maybe you can put music on through Spotify. And then,
nice.
And then she deleted her account with the last wave of Spotify news, which has been not very detrimental, but has made things a little bit trickier to listen to stuff. This is again random. Listening to your podcast at some point, we listened to the Bill Orcutt, Chris Corsano one, and Chris Corsano mentioned this saxophonist, this woman saxophonist.
Caroline Crabell, was it?
Do you just have all files open in front of you? You have Wikipedia pages just open in front of you.
I hammer these records so hard when people bring them up, and so they just all. Sometimes this is really sad. When I'm in bed and your mind's just floating, sometimes I'll think back to a previous episode and just be like, "What did they pick again?" Like...
That's incredible.
Have you heard it all the way through?
No, I haven't heard it. I can't find anywhere to hear it.
I remember that in the car because we would write down the picks, and then after the interview, we would just go through all of them because we just had so many hours to spend in the car. Be like, okay, let's listen to this.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't find this one.
Yeah, I couldn't find that one. And no, because you had a little nugget, you had a little sample of it, and it sounded mad. It sounded so good.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the whole record as well is like that kind of energy, just the complete, like, constant overturning of surprises. Okay, I think this is my last question for you. What is something recently that you've heard and enjoyed that you might want to mention here?
Recently, I've just been listening to Cassie Crott on loop.
Nice.
Well, I can happily open up my Bandcamp. What if I? Oh, we both got really into. I can't pronounce the name. Nyachni Nailgun.
Yahweh Nailgun.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if that would be your bag. What is it? How does? Gosh, is it WH? I can never get the letters right at the start, but
I'll tell you now. It is. Oh, you got it. WHW. No, YHWH.
That's it.
Yahweh, but without the.
Yahweh Nailgun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good record, isn't it?
Yeah, that is really good. It is really, really good. Mike of Caroline sent it to us.
Nice.
And said, "Oh, you guys are gonna love it." And I think in the beginning we really didn't love it. We were really meh. What? And then listened to it a second time, and it's cool because it's actually really, it's very intense, but it's really minimal. It's very, very, it's like the modern equivalent of metal box, I feel.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And then seeing them live, we kind of walked into their gig, because this was also a rewire. We were late to their gig, or kind of wanted to see at least a bit of their gig. So walked in, ran in, I think for like the last 10 minutes. And it was really actually incredible how it was just immediately you were like in this warm bath. Like it just like clicked. And it was so direct, and it was like so simple, like so like a band with just instruments was so like rock in the way. Like I thought it was going to be really weird, complicated stuff, but they were just like really true and direct.
Just a rock band, just like a 4-boy rock band.
I was just so incredible. But I kind of felt like I was cheating a bit by just coming in at the last 10 minutes and just immediately like jumping around, dancing, like as if I had to have endured the first 30-40 minutes before I was allowed to enjoy it.
Yeah,
it was kind of perfect the way it happened.
Oh, that's great.
I've been still kind of over the summer. I listened a lot to this. I don't know if it's a proper album or if it's just like collected pieces of Carlos Paredes, which is a Portuguese guitar virtuoso in the fado, like traditional Portuguese music.
I can't help but feel kind of cool when we say something that Jack doesn't know.
It's easier than you'd think. I have a lot of blind spots, I think.
There's so much.
Tell me about that, though.
The album is called Guitarra Portuguesa, which kind of says it all. Just Portuguese guitar. And yeah, I discovered sort of fado music last time on our tour. We went to Portugal and then met these amazing people that kind of
got us way too drunk, but then also just started rambling to us about the importance of fado music and the history, and which is just really, really interesting. And then listened to it in a taxi back. Also, the taxi driver, the Uber driver, was just very, very accepting of, oh yeah, you just want to play some music? Okay, sure. And there was this one piece which is called Cansao Verdes Anos. Horrible pronunciation, but was it
Cansao
Verdes Anos?
Nice.
Which is just so, like, it just immediately got me. It was just so magical and so emotional and so emotional. Just forgetting how a guitar and it could just be such an emotional thing, and how it can carry so much. And yeah, kind of thought nothing of it afterwards, and then suddenly came back home. And I thought, oh, right, I have only one of the 5 napkins that have bands written, things I have to check out. This was one of them. And then I just completely fell in love with all of it. So I've been listening to that all summer. And then now that summer is over, I'm still kind of trying to, I'm still trying to listen to it to sort of hold on to this past season before autumn starts. But no, I think I need to move into something a bit darker very soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's funny to hear you listening to stuff which I don't know you're listening to. I'm like, what? When were you doing this? Without me. And my last one, I'd just like to mention it because I just saw the gig. I was listening to the record before and then saw the gig this weekend. Clement Vercelletto, French, but with Italian roots. Clement Vercelletto. He's got this album called L'Engoulevent, which is, he has made this organ out of bird calls.
Oh, wow.
And also plays the French bagpipes with it. And it's quite nice. The gig's really, really beautiful because he's got like this whole installation, this whole setup, which is kind of MIDI controlled, but also has the bagpipes. And he's also got some bits of organ pipes kind of laying around, which either physically blows himself or has plugged into this air pump. So very visual, very, very performative, and just really immersive, full-on, full-bodied electroacoustic music. And the album is just very, very beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of itchy, noisy, ambienty stuff, which I've really, really, really enjoyed.
Oh, that sounds very much like my kind of thing. Yeah, if you could link me to that, that would be great.
Yeah, I'd love to. Unfortunately, you can only listen to it 3 times on Bandcamp before you buy it, though, which is...
That's fair.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Come on, both of you, which is fair. As if you haven't gotten frustrated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see the little heart icon breaking, and then it kind of breaks my heart again. But then,
yes.
I gotta do it.
They do that very well. It does get me, but
Yeah.
I understand the logic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this has been great. Thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was really, really, really special. Lovely talking to you.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Lovely to have you. And to everyone listening, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.